Summary of Kanthapura by Raja Rao. Kanthapura is about how a Gandhian nationalist movement started in a small town in South India with the same name. The story is told by Achaka, an older Brahmin woman who knows everything about everyone in her village. She tells the story in the style of a Sthala Purana, which is a traditional legendary history of a town, its people, and its gods. Achaka starts her story by putting Kanthapura in its immediate environment, which is the Western Ghats mountain range in southwest India, which has recently become a center for the spice trade between the British colonial government and the Indian people. The goddess Kanchama, who fought a demon on Kanchama Hill above Kanthapura many years ago, is the village's guardian figure. Since then, she has kept the people safe. Achaka talks about all the different people who live in the village. She introduces the learned and wealthy Brahmins, like the rich orphan Dor, who says he is a Gandhian after a term at university in the city, and the much-loved Moorthy, who refuses to marry into one wealthy family after another. Then she talks about the potters and weavers, most of whom are now farmers. Finally, she talks about the pariahs, who live in rundown huts on the edge of town. Caste does not always mean wealth, though. The most important people in the village are the Brahmin Bhatta, who wears a loincloth, and the Patel and Sudra range Goda, who is smart but also honest. One day, Moorthy finds a linga, a small statue of Lord Shiva, in a Hakka's backyard, and the Brahmins start praying for it. Soon after, Moorthy starts collecting money from everyone in the village to pay for a Harikatha man named Jayaramakar to give a religious speech about Mahatma Gandhi's promise to save India from foreign rule. This causes a stir, especially when Moorthy starts to convert other locals to Gandhi's cause and a Muslim policeman named Baid Khan comes into town. Khan can't find a place to stay with Patel Range Goda, so he goes to the nearby Skeffington coffee estate, where the Sahib in charge gives him a hut with the workers. Moorthy is trying to get the locals to start spinning their own wool and making their own khadi cloth because Gandhi thinks that foreign goods make India poor and that weaving is a spiritual practice. But Bhatta doesn't like Gandhiism because his business is based on giving small farmers high-interest loans so they can sell their rice to city people. He doesn't like how India is becoming more modern and how the caste system is breaking down. He wants to stop Moorthy from spreading Gandhiism, so he suggests starting a Brahmin party to fight against it. Many villagers agree with him, including the wandering waterfall Venkama, the priest temple Rangappa and his wife Lakshma, Moorthy's mother Narsamma, and his own wife Chinnamma. Moorthy sees a vision of Gandhi making a speech and decides to devote his life to the Mahatma's work. He wins over the rich widow Rangama, whose big house he fills with spinning wheels and books about nonviolent resistance. The strong Swami in Mysore says that anyone who pollutes the traditional system by talking to people from other classes will be excommunicated. When Narsamma finds out that her son Moorthy is likely to be the first to be excommunicated, she is upset and refuses to talk to him. But he doesn't give in, and when Moorthy is seen bringing a dead body, the Swami kicks his whole family out of the temple. Narsamma dies on the banks of the nearby river Himavathi, and Moorthy moves into Rangama's house. The story jumps to the Skeffington estate, where the Maistry persuades coolie workers from poor towns all over India to come work hard, dangerous jobs there. Their pay is low, and the Sahib does everything he can to keep them working on the estate for the rest of their lives. He beats them, raises the prices of everyday items, steals their pay, and, most sneakily, tells them to spend their money at the nearby toddy stand. Since 10 years ago, nobody has been able to leave, even though a new Sahib has taken over who is nicer than the first, except to the women, Achaka points out, whom he systematically raped until he got into a court fight for killing a father who wouldn't give up his daughter. But Moorthy's Gandhians, with the help of the Brahmin clerk Vasudev, start teaching the coolies how to read and write and getting them to join the protest movement. One of these lessons is interrupted by Baid Khan, which only makes Moorthy more determined, and soon a coolie named Rakhanna moves from the estate to Kanthapura. During the chaos, some of the coolie women grabbed the Khan's beard, and Moorthy takes full blame for this attack, which goes against the Mahatma's philosophy of nonviolence. He fasts for 3 days and meditates non-stop in the village temple, where he sees visions of Shiva and Hari. Rangama, the wise old Brahmin Ramakrishna, and the widowed outcast girl Ratna take care of him. He gets stronger. When Waterfall Venkama and Bhatta threaten him, he responds with love and decides to start what he calls the Don't Touch the Government campaign. Moorthy tells Patel Range Goda about his plan, and the strong town leader and farmer decides quickly to follow Mahatma. Together, they hold a village congress, which claims to be a local branch of Gandhi's Congress of All India. Moorthy goes to the house of Rakhanna, a former coolie who is now a pariah in the village. He is afraid to go inside or drink the milk that Rakhanna's wife Rachi offers him because he was raised as a Brahmin and has never been so close to a pariah. He does it anyway, and soon gets a group of confused outcast women to come together and spin cloth and join the cause. But when he gets back home, Rangama makes him enter through the back and drink Ganges water to clean himself. Bhatta soon sees that he can get Venkama to set fire where we want if he can find her daughter a husband, so he sets up a marriage with his favorite lawyer, a middle-aged widow named Advocate Sinappa. Shortly after that, the cops come to Rangama's house during the holy holiday of Kartik and arrest Moorthy. Mahatma Gandhi Ki Jai, which means glory to Mahatma Gandhi, is a war cry that Rakhanna yells. The Gandhians use it when the cops attack them for the rest of the book. The cops start beating and arresting the rest of the locals. They take 17 people into custody and let everyone else go except Moorthy. In jail, Moorthy refuses the help of lawyers and spiritual leaders until Advocate Sankar, the Congress Committee secretary in the nearby city of Karwar, tells him that the national cause needs him to be freed. Moorthy falls at Sankar's feet, and the lawyer holds a huge meeting for his benefit. A nameless old man, who the Swami has paid off, defends the British government and beloved sovereign Queen Victoria. The police inspector shows up at the meeting and arrests another leader, Advocate Ranganna. The news quickly spreads through Kanthapura, where Rangama has started to print a newspaper. The locals devoured it, and even the ones who couldn't read insisted that others read it to them. They argue about when and if Moorthy will be freed. Rangama and Nanjamma, who is a Gandhian, go to Karwar to see Advocate Sankar, who is known for being honest and caring about other people. Rangama agrees to stay for a while. In the meantime, Range Goda is fired by the British government, and a new Patel for the village is put in his place. Moorthy is sentenced to 3 months in jail, and the next day, the wise old man Ramakrishna dies when he trips and hits his head on a column during heavy rain. During the burning of his body, the Himavathi River floods and eats his ashes. The locals decide that the widowed girl Ratna should replace Ramakrishna as the person in charge of reading from Hindu writings. When Rangama returns, she starts to see the texts Ratna reads as calls for the end of British rule in India. The women decide to start their own volunteer group, and Rangama starts to lead them in group meditation and drills so they can practice not fighting back when the cops beat them. On a good day soon after, the villagers hold a ceremony to honor the goddess Kanchamma before planting their fields. Venkama plans to move her daughter's wedding to the same day as Moorthy's release from prison so that the villagers will be forced to choose who they will support. On the day he is due to arrive, the villagers wait for him, but he doesn't show up. When they find out that the police have secretly taken him back to Rangama's house, they go there to meet him, shouting Gandhian slogans and almost getting into another fight with the police. Moorthy once again takes charge of the Gandhian movement in the village. He reminds the other villagers of their duty to share the truth, reject the rank system, and spin wool every morning. The locals hear about Gandhi's protest against the British salt tax, in which he marches to the sea and makes his own salt. They take a bath in the holy Himavathi River just as Gandhi reaches the ocean, and the police start rounding up his followers in large numbers. Moorthy and Rangama continue to lead practice drills while waiting for orders from the National Gandhian Congress. They soon find out that the Mahatma has been arrested and decide to officially start the Don't Touch the Government campaign by protesting toddy stands, refusing to pay taxes or follow the colonial government's orders, and setting up a parallel government for their village that keeps Range Goda as Patel. 2 days later, 139 Kanthapura peasants march to the toddy grove near the Skeffington coffee estate, and Moorthy refuses to obey the police inspector's orders to back down. The Gandhians climb into the grove and start ripping branches off the trees while the cops beat them down with lathis and arrest 3 villagers, the Pariah Rakhana and the potters Lingaya and Sadaya. The rest of the protesters are rounded up and put into trucks. The trucks drive off in different directions and drop the protesters off on the side of the road in different parts of the Western Ghats. As the protesters walk back to Kanthapura, they meet cart drivers who support Gandhi's movement and offer to take them home for free. They also meet people from the nearby village of Kanthapura who decide to join their satyagraha movement. The next week, the locals protest again. They meet different people from the area who say they are being mistreated by the British and ask Moorthy to help them. When they get to the Toddy Grove, the police inspector marches the coolies off the Skeffington estate to Barana's Toddy stand, but the Gandhians convince the coolies to join the protest instead of drinking. This time, the cops are much rougher, and Rangama, Ratna, and Moorthy are badly hurt before the rest are dumped on the side of the road, just like before. But when they got back to Kanthapura, they found that many coolies and Gandhi supporters from the area had decided to join them. Their movement kept growing as they started more protests, shut down 24 Toddy stands in the area, and kept an eye on the growing national protest movement. Aside from a few Brahmins who still disagree with the Gandhi movement, the villages won't work with the government, which makes the cops angry and makes them use more and more violent methods. The police block every way out of town, arrest many protesters, including Moorthy and Rangama, the movement's 2 main leaders, in the middle of the night, and start beating up women from the village. One officer almost raped Ratna, but Achaka and some of the other women volunteers found her in time and chose her to be the new leader of the protest movement. From this point on, the story is told from the point of view of this group of women. They hide out in the temple and watch Bhatta's house burn down. But a police officer sees them and locks them in until Rachi, an outcast, gets them out the next day. The locals hold their 4th and most important protest against the cops 3 days later. As the government starts selling off the land of the locals, rich Europeans move to Kanthapura and hire coolies from the city to work the fields. Gandhians from all over the area, such as Advocate Sankar, rush to the town to help with the protest. Achaka and the other women start to doubt their loyalty to Gandhi and wonder if non-violent defiance will really save their jobs. But soon the march starts, and the cops are meaner than ever. One of the protesters raises the Gandhian revolutionary flag, and the police start shooting at the protesters, killing them in large numbers even though they are saying they will not use violence. As their neighbors and party members are killed, the women hide in sugarcane fields. When they start to leave Kanthapura, Rachi plans to burn the village down. Rachi makes a bonfire and sets the village on fire. The women then march as far as they can from Kanthapura, across the mountains, and into the bush, where people honor them as pilgrims of the Mahatma and offer them a new home in the village of Kashipura. Achaka says that in the year since Kanthapura was destroyed, the villagers have moved on with their lives and spread out. Moorthy has also been let out of prison, even though he gave up on Gandhi when he started making deals with the British. Instead, he joined Jawaharlal Nehru's movement for fair distribution of wealth. Rangama is still in jail, and Range Gowda is the only one who has come back to Kanthapura. He tells Achaka that the village was sold to people from Bombay.
About the author. Raja Rao was born into an elite Brahmin family in the South Indian state of Mysore, now called Karnataka, which is also where the story of Kanthapura takes place. Rao's father taught Kannada, which is the local language that the people in the book are likely to speak. When Rao was 4 years old, his mother died. Rao was the only Hindu student at his Muslim public school before he went to study English at the University of Madras. He graduated in 1929, the same year he finished writing Kanthapura. Soon after, he went to France, where he studied French history and literature. For the next 30 years, he split his time between France and India. During the 1940s, he took part in the fight for Indian freedom. Rao came to the United States in 1966. From that year until 1986, he taught philosophy at the University of Texas. He got married 3 times, in 1931 to a French teacher named Camille Mali, in 1965 to an American actor named Catherine Jones, and in 1986 to an American woman named Susan Vaught. From the 1960s on, he won a number of important literary awards, such as the Indian Padma Bhushan in 1969 and the Neustadt International Prize for Literature in 1988.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.